this is editing KJ with a quick note that this episode was recorded before the WGA strike and the SAG-AFTRA strikes were resolved, and in some cases possibly before the strikes began. We're super happy to be back, so please enjoy this episode. My name is KJ, and you're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast, where some things in this world are supernatural. My pronouns are she, they, and this is the podcast where I talk to my fellow Supernatural fans about Supernatural, and we share our supernatural opinions. Alrighty, today I am joined by my guests, Meredith, Beth, and Jamie. Meredith, please remind the people who you are.
Hi, I'm Meredith. My pronouns are she, her, and we'll see how much I have to say because I'm tired.
And Beth and Jamie, I feel like I always introduce you separately and then you have all the same things to say, but please tell the people who you are.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Beth.
We're from Driver Picks the podcast. We're here very often, so if you don't know who we are, then listen to more of KJ's backlog.
Exactly.
This week, we're recapping Season 4, Episode 5, Monster Movie, which originally aired on October 16, 2008. And that title is a reference to the genre of movie that features a central monster versus a group of humans. And this episode is filmed in black and white as like an homage to the genre that, like, really it dates back to the beginning of film. Like, before movies had sound, there were monster movies. This week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode, may reference previous episodes, but will not contain spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. This was written by Ben Edlund and directed by Robert Singer, with the triple story editors of Jeremy Carver, Catherine Humphreys, and Julie Siege.
What a lineup.
Oh, also, before we get too far into the episode, I should say the X-Files did this too.
Oh, good. That makes the X-Files reference in this episode all the better.
Yeah. Season 5, Episode 5, The Postmodern Prometheus.
Interesting.
As you can tell from the title, it's mostly referencing Frankenstein, but it's also filmed in black and white.
Okay, they went with more Dracula this time around.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Edlund, we hadn't heard from him in a while. He was last year on Season 3, Episode 13, Ghostfacers. But if we take out 404, then Season 4 writing so far is the inverse of the end of Season 3 writing. We've got Ben, Jeremy, Sarah, Eric, Sarah, Jeremy, Ben. So
big names.
And Robert Singer last directed just one episode more recently than Ben wrote on Season 3, Episode 14, Long Distance Call. So, you know, it hasn't been that long. We know these people. We have feelings about I actually think this episode is super well directed. It does what it's supposed to do.
Personally, what I love about it is obviously they've gone with the black and white the whole way, but they also, every directorial choice they make is in line with classic monster movies.
Yes, there are definitely shots that are like absolutely like ripped out of a monster movie. There's one shot in particular that I think is a little gift just for me. It is the thing that it's the thing I like the second best about this whole episode. I, in my brain, thought that the black and white didn't last the entire episode. I don't know why I had that in my brain, but that was in my brain. And then I got all the way through the episode. I was like, guess it was all in black and white.
Oh, yeah, I love that they just really committed to the bit.
Oh, yeah. And like even beyond just like, because they could have just filmed it in black and white, but then like Jamie said, like they've got all these directorial choices that are also really interesting. Also the music, like the score of this episode fits really the theme.
Actually.
Yeah, and also there's like an intermission in the middle of the episode, like, and the credits and stuff, like they were like, oh, here's a concept, let's go hard, like go big or go home.
And honestly, that is the best thing that they could do. Like, if you don't fully commit to the bit, it's gonna be worth it.
And most of the time when Supernatural commits to the bit, it's like, we're going to commit to the bit in a way that's homophobic and racist. So it's nice that this one's committing to the bit in a way that's just like fun and silly and weird.
Yeah, that's true. There's a couple scenes that are a little rapey, but it's fine. Most of those monster, obviously, it's on theme.
Yeah.
Episode rating. Let's start with Meredith.
Okay. I'll give it maybe 7.5 out of 10. Like, it's not an episode I think about all the time, but it's one I always enjoy when I watch it.
Jamie, how about you?
I give it a I want to suck your blood out of 5.
And Beth, how about you?
I really wish I didn't have to follow that up.
It'll be boring now.
Yeah. I think I'm probably going to give it like a 7 out of 10. Like, I think there's definitely episodes that I like more, but I also think that, like Meredith said, like, I don't really think of it very often, but when I do go back to it, I'm like pleasantly surprised.
I still don't think I'm super fond of this episode, but I do think I like it more than I thought I liked it 2 weeks ago.
Are you going to revisit your worst 5 list then?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. But I think I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10. It's still not on the top of the list, but like it's not that bad. It's certainly no bugs. Like
Oh goodness. It's got very
it's just
high
one
rating.
that I would skip if I was watching this for any other reason that wasn't a podcast.
It's got very high ratings on IMDb, actually.
It's so funny that you say that, KJ, because literally before I had to rewatch it for the podcast, I also just skipped it every time I was watching season 4. I was like, I don't care about this one. And then I was made to have to go back and rewatch it. And I was like, oh, dang, actually, this one's all right.
Total death count this week. We saw 2 deaths, bringing our on-screen total to 276 on-screen deaths. We had 3 on and off-screen deaths, bringing our 3 sounds like too few, but 3. So I'm gonna say right now.
It's still astounding to me how much math you managed to put in this podcast.
Brings us to 1,920, give or take. No angel deaths this week because there are no angels here. This is the second episode in a row that has no Cass this season, since we met Cass, and I don't like this run. This run sucks. Give me Cass.
The real reason you're anti-monster movie.
Yeah, 2 in a row, no Cass.
Yes, but consider we do get one really weird monster movie nerd who is got a great wardrobe.
Yeah, it's not Cass. Going into the episode, but before we like get into it, I just had a little story. The very first time that my friend Faith watched this episode, we were using the watch party function on Prime, and she accidentally switched to like German dub, and for like 2 solid minutes she thought they were just doing a bit. Like
This would be the episode to do
it's
that,
also
wouldn't it?
German. Why not?
Considering the whole thing's based around Oktoberfest, like it makes sense.
Can you imagine if they'd actually done that? Like you turn on your TV to watch Supernatural and like
Just
all of a
in
sudden
German?
they're speaking German and you're not in Germany.
I mean, we all know the writer's track record, though, with languages that aren't English.
I don't even know why they would do that for this episode. None of the movies they're making references to are German.
No, but
I think just because of like Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do watch Supernatural in the French dub because I'm trying to not lose all of my French.
Fair.
But anyway, there's like classic horror movie music, and Dean says that the radio sucks, turns off, and I love when the music is diegetic and it's like part of the story. I enjoy that, and a lot of the music in this episode it's very good.
Well, especially when it's this kind of music. Like it's not rock music. It is like super dramatic orchestral music.
Yeah, and it's like most of, if not all of the music in this episode. It's a choice
when
I
they
appreciate.
when we said they went with a bit, they didn't just go with like the black and white bit. They didn't just go with the shock choices. Every single piece of music in this episode is like you're watching a monster movie from the 50s.
They worked hard on this.
Dean says that this job that they're going on is sweet. It's like definitely a vampire. And Sam's like, bro, the world's actually ending. Like, what are we doing here? And I think that's why I don't like this episode, because I'm like, the world is ending. What are we doing here?
I said to Jamie, I remember like when we covered this ages ago, like that whole concept of like, oh, it's time that the Winchester brothers do a good old black and white, which is like, okay, nice nod, case. And it's like, they do this all the fucking time. It's like literally the stakes have never been higher. And they're like, why don't we just hunt a ghost this week? And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
This.
Focus. Somebody
because
focus.
Nothing matters.
I actually think that Dean's response is really good. He's like, well, we can't fix that today. What we can do is figure out what's happening in this one town. And then he makes a black and white joke, which is funny, I guess.
Very meta.
There's a fade out that's like very movie, like 1980s movie. And then like there's more diegetic music in the form of a band.
Well, we're talking about fade outs. Later on, we get the peak fade out of like the screen wash. Where it goes from like one to the other which again, they didn't just do like lighting and set choices. They were like, no, everything up to and including the editing will be in this style.
Yeah, honestly incredible.
I haven't watched this in a while. Did we get any like dramatic lightning flashes?
Yes, there was one while Sam and Dean were driving into the town. It was over the sign, and the Pennsylvania sign like briefly says Transylvania for like a split second.
I remember that part.
But just for the lightning flash. Sam and Dean have stopped to change to their FBI suits, which I always like. Like, these are really good suits, actually. Like, top of the list suits. And we find out that Sam went to see the new Raiders movie while Dean was in hell, which I've never heard anyone refer to an Indiana Jones movie as a Raiders movie, but okay.
Up until you just said it, I did not realize it was Indiana Jones that they were talking about.
The movie Dean means is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which came out in May of 2008. Which would be like right around the time that Dean went to hell.
Dean, it's okay. You didn't miss very much. It wasn't a good movie.
And like, this is an okay joke that like Sam went to go see a movie, but like, just I need everyone to picture this. Sam Winchester, Dean is dead. Bobby cannot get Sam on the phone, and Sam's
just
at
pointed
the
on
movies
silence because he's in the cinema
with a bucket of popcorn, about to watch Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones be kidnapped by the Soviet Union to find the corpse of an alien. Like,
as I said, it wasn't a good movie.
Himself because he has no friends. Like, oh man, Sam is like, when he's standing next to Dean, not the creepiest guy in the world, but like if he was alone in a movie theater, you'd be like, what's that guy doing here by himself?
I don't know, maybe you would just see the puppy energy.
Like, vaguely thought about being there. Like, it just seems so weird that he would go to a movie, honestly. Go to an Indiana Jones movie of all things. Like, not some like artsy movie, like Indiana Jones.
Maybe he needed a distraction and that was what was available, and maybe it reminded him of Dean.
I was going to say, I like to think that he went to see a Harrison Ford movie because he was trying to like connect with Dean in a way.
Honestly, that would make the most sense.
Oh yeah, well, he didn't know Dean was coming back and he was probably grieving, and that's a way to deal with grief is by getting a distraction from it.
You know, and now that you say that, I wish they would go to more movies, but it's fine.
Do you know what? We can say he went to as many fucking movies as we want, KJ. We could just pull up the list of films released in 2008 and decide which one Sam went to.
I want to do that.
No one can
now.
stop us.
I want to send it to some weird rom-coms.
It's called a headcanon for a reason.
Their FBI aliases are Agents Angus and Young, which is an AC/DC reference. Like, very classic.
Australia represent.
Akadaka.
Marissa Wright is the victim. She's a double puncture wound on her neck, kind of like she got bit by a very large snake or a vampire, but like not the usual shark teethy vampires that we've seen before on this show. And Dean's flirting with Jamie the bartender, and she's in a very like bar wenchie outfit. We'd seen her walk by before, but like now she's important.
Always flattered to have an important character named Jamie.
I hope that this Jamie's making good tips, and like she only has to dress like this for Oktoberfest. Like,
probably to both of those.
Oh,
I bet she gets a lot of tips in that outfit.
One thing that did stand out to me is like, oof, I don't love that in this episode, was when Dean keeps referring to her as a bar wench, and he does the thing where he calls across the room like, hey, bar wench, and she like goes with the joke, and I was like, if someone did that to me, I would be so irate.
I'd be like, I'm ignoring you until you call me by a proper title.
Mm-hmm. Does Australia have Oktoberfest?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a big drinking culture.
And that's it. Any excuse to drink, we're taking it.
My high school used to celebrate Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Like,
we also have near us, we have like a little town that was primarily settled by Germans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's a
Big
historic German quote unquote town.
Yeah.
Just sort of
a massive tourist thing.
It's a massive tourist thing.
The city I was born in is primarily German, and Oktoberfest is a really big thing there too.
Interesting. I was just curious. Yeah, big thing here.
This is not one of those things where we were like, is this like an American thing? No, we definitely have Oktoberfest.
We probably celebrate Oktoberfest more than we celebrate like Halloween.
Yeah.
Like it's a way more culturally. Yeah. Like Halloween, people are very divided about it here.
Halloween is definitely a thing here. So that's interesting. Which I mean, Halloween is the worst place holiday of all the holidays because it is very cold here by the end of October. We sometimes have snow by then, and like nothing ruins a good costume like having to wear a fucking parka.
See, that's the one thing I'm kind of sad Australia doesn't have Halloween, because like I'm a sucker for dressing up, and like October weather in Australia is a hell of a lot nicer than October weather in Northern America.
All right, I've been planning my next costume for months. Like
Halloween
I love Halloween.
A great holiday. Like you get to wear a costume and it's about eating candy. Like there's
if Beth moves slightly, you can see my Harley Quinn costume behind her.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, our witness dude looks like someone from an old movie, but like maybe that's just because he's in black and white. I looked through his IMDb for something I might have seen him in before, but I didn't see anything. I don't know, something about him just gave me a vibe. I didn't like him. And I don't know if that's because they were like red herring him up or like what, but
yeah, I guess they're kind of setting him up so that you're supposed to have a vibe about him. So I guess like it makes sense.
He also just had like I don't know if it was the mustache or whatever, but he also just like gave off like a vibe like he's supposed to be like playing Hitler in like The Sound of Music somewhere.
Hitler wasn't in The Sound of Music.
I know, but like
Meredith's coming in with receipts.
Oh, no.
Like, KJ, if you're gonna make a joke, it better be fucking factual.
It's like maybe he's Herr Zeller.
I got halfway through and then I couldn't think of like a fictional thing that had Hitler in it. And
You mean other than Supernatural?
yeah.
And Indiana Jones.
I forgot that was the whole thing about Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Hitler was in The Last Crusade.
Anyway, let's talk about Dracula. Ed describes seeing Dracula with the Transylvanian accent and everything, and Lucy dabs her lipstick on a napkin, and then Sam pockets the napkin, which is not great behavior. Especially
weird.
Immediately then gives Dean a lecture about him doing the bar wench thing.
But like also the thing is, it is very clear that Dean is doing a bit.
Yeah.
Whether you like the bit or not, it is very clear Dean is doing a bit.
Exactly.
Everything from his like tone of voice to the way he's interacted with Jamie previously, it is very clear that he is doing a bit.
Sam, however,
napkin is just fucking weird.
So fucking creepy.
I don't know, maybe he's just like, maybe this is going to be evidence later and he doesn't even realize how creepy it is.
It's just weird. I mean, it comes in handy later because it does allow him to immediately identify our suspect, but like, it's not great. It's not great at all.
And also we actually have what I would classify as a psychic Sam moment this episode, because he sees Jamie and he calls her Mina, which then of course circles back around because she is the character that the the monster of the week has decided is his Mina to his Dracula.
Call her Mina?
Yeah.
He does, yeah.
I have not noticed that.
Me neither.
Who's the Sam stan here?
I was too disturbed by him pocketing that girl's lipstick mark.
To be fair, it's slightly early in the episode that he calls her Mina. It's like when they first see Jamie.
Honestly, I was pretty harsh on Sam/Jared in this whole episode. There was a moment where I was just like, that was really bad acting.
Oh,
wait, which moments?
When they first get to the town and they're walking up to the cop, Jared just goes, "That's our guy." And then they walk up to him and he just like forgot how to act.
To be fair, that's not a great line.
It's a really horribly written piece of dialogue. It serves no purpose. Dean is there, Sam is there. The guy's clearly a cop. Like he's in the cop outfit.
Like it's hard to make that line sound natural and good.
I feel like, we didn't need to say anything, but that's fine. It was just really bad. I was like, this is not going well.
Honestly, like while we're on the writing for like just a tick, I love Ben Edlund. We all know this. It's well documented by this point. But I will say that there was this one moment in the episode when Dean and Jamie are just completely unfamiliar with the concept of the characters in Dracula. And Sam is explaining to Dean about the plot of Dracula. And I was like, in no world does Dean not know.
Dean of the many, many pop culture references. Although Sam's such a nerd, he's probably read Dracula. Like he hasn't seen the Dracula movie. He's definitely like read the book.
The reason that I picked up on any of the Dracula references in this one the first time round was because when we first recorded it, Dracula Daily was massive on Tumblr.
I was just gonna say, do you reckon Sam signed up for Dracula Daily?
Oh gosh, yeah. I've read the book. I've never seen the movie. I want to see the movie, and I remember when Dracula Daily was big because people were making fan art. It was awesome.
I learned way more about Dracula in that, like, I don't know, 3-month period of going on Tumblr and scrolling through people's discourse than I learned about it at any other point in my life.
Dean is explaining to Sam that all of his old scars and like breakages are gone, so he's concluded he's been rehymenated, which Sam is skeptical of. He's like, the angels could do a lot, but they can't undo your vast sexual history. But Dean's like, I need to get laid.
Making jump. And jumps that don't even make sense because he doesn't have a hymen.
Well, trans Dean, right?
There we go.
But Dean's like, it doesn't matter. bad. I need to get laid like right now. And Sam's like, okay, you do that. I'm gonna go to bed. Call me if you need me, but I'm out of here.
Like, I don't even care. Just do what you want, Dean.
Yeah. Jamie's not available to go out. And Dean's like, oh, that's too bad because we're probably going to be leaving. Like, this case isn't weird enough. But it's fine. Don't worry, Dean. It's about to get weird for you, babe. We've got a full moon and a makeout point and a couple in a car. Everything about the shot was really great, but this show is so allergic to using modern cars. And then they just stick like the most ridiculous modern looking car in this shot. Like, just one car from the 70s or 80s would not have killed the budget.
Or 50s if you're still committing to the bit.
Yeah, stick an old car in this movie, please. It was like a Nissan or something. It was really dumb. I was like, this car looks stupid.
This car was never meant to be in black and white.
The rest of this scene looks perfectly out of any 80s movie. You can copy and paste it. Like, if you just like cut right before they show the car, you'd be like, what movie is this from? You'd be like, some movie from the 80s. I don't know which one.
I'm sorry, did you just call a Nissan a Nissan?
Yeah, that's how we say it here.
As I said, we emphasize the exact opposite, like syllables.
It's a Nissan.
Don't know what to tell you.
I'm gonna send you the American commercial.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, car commercials are so weird.
Car commercials
I know.
Dumb. I say that as someone who doesn't own a car, so I've never had the need for one of those commercials. Never been relevant to my life.
Yeah. I mostly just make fun of them.
But the couple in the car, the girl is uncomfortable and the guy is saying all kinds of bullshit with his voice like as low as he can make it go. This has become a sexual assault scene in Ben Edlund.
They often are.
Which I think might be my Ben Edlund criticism across like most of Ben Edlund's episodes. I don't know what his deal is, but like this is not the first time we've had a Ben Edlund episode that was just like sexual assaulty for no real reason.
That's a valid criticism.
But I do think in this episode it is used to play up the genre of it all. Like, because that's what a setup of, oh, but I don't really want to, like that is straight out of a bad 80s monster movie.
Yeah, I will agree.
It doesn't make it good, but it does, at least in my brain, explain why he decided to put it there.
That trope in particular.
Well, no, it's a bad trope, but I think Jamie's point was like it's still a bad part
trope,
of the genre.
But it is part of the genre, so I can understand why he put it there. Doesn't mean that I love the decision.
We have an explanation as to why it's there. It doesn't mean we have to like it, but we know why it's there.
I still don't like it.
You don't have to.
I think
that's my point.
It's also like a horror movie. Like, and there are different like versions of horror, but like I would argue that is part of the horror. Like for me, like because that's a horrific circumstance. Like it's coercion and it's SA and it's like.
And then the dude gets eaten by a werewolf. So
there we go.
Super bad.
Just
all I wrote was Wolfman because Wolfman. I didn't write any other details with the Wolfman scene. And Maria's
there's
the
a
girl.
Wolfman.
And she survives and she's telling Sam and Dean what happened to the guy, and it's got a mega big drink. The drink is ginormous and it says mega big on the outside of it. I was like, oh man, that drink is large. And then I like zoomed out a little bit so we could see the whole drink. It just says mega big and like giant letters on it.
Then you realize it's not large, it's mega big.
It's mega big.
Honestly though, it's probably just like a large Wendy's guy.
I also love, like, because you get those little, like, interview scenes. The acting in the interview scenes is exactly the sort of, like, over-the-top, hamming it up, like, acting you'd expect out of a bad monster movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. She can't stop sipping the drink, too, while she's talking.
Oh, yeah, this girl amused me.
Then they're at the morgue, and they're like, it's not a werewolf, but it's not a werewolf. Like, there's werewolf hair, there's wolf hair on the body. And Dean, like me, has a headache.
It's not a werewolf, it's a wolf man. One specifically.
Jamie gives them free beers and she and Dean make plans to meet at midnight. I know that I am very biased towards Sam, and I have been known to look upon a photo of Jensen Ackles once or twice and gone, fuck, that's a very hot man. Every once in a while, I do get the really warm and fuzzy love for Dean that I get for Sam. And the combination of him wondering if their Dracula could turn into a bat because, quote, that would be cool, and then giving himself a little beer foam mustache, it got me. I was coming here, baby, let me wrap you in a blanket, give you a hug and a sandwich, and send you off to bed.
Let's go watch some monster movies together, little Dean.
I love every time we get Dean being like, that'd be cool. Like every time that he thinks like a monster is kind of cool, I'm like, I love this. Find joy in your work.
Your work sucks, but there are some nice things about it.
Really feeling their job today, and that's just such a rarity for them.
Yeah, especially like even in an episode, especially where like Jamie like straight up points it out to him, where she's like, your job fucking sucks. Like,
She's right.
Yeah. We are at the museum, and a security guard has stumbled across a tomb on the loading dock that no one's expecting. And like, that's just bad news. Just go home. Like, I know your job is to protect the museum and whatever, but like, those things don't just show up unexpectedly and unannounced. Like, it's just not a thing.
Out of nowhere, Boris Karloff.
And the mummy like crawls / floats out and like spites a few shots to the chest, like picks the guard up by the throat and strangles him. Kind of just for fun, it seems like. Especially after the fact when we start getting explanations. Like, there's no real reason for this.
It's yet another case of shifters murdering people because they're lonely.
Yeah. And like, what did this guy do? He's just at work chilling. He's like got the wrong shift. He was working Tuesday and not Wednesday. Like,
honestly, I feel like that kind of fits with a monster movie. Like, there's no real reason to kill this bystander except to show the audience that this is a scary monster.
Yeah, pretty much. Sam finds a prop house sticker on the sarcophagus, and Dean finds a bucket of dry ice that the police have somehow overlooked.
Speaking of committing to the bit.
I love the dry ice.
It's so funny.
So funny.
Like, okay, this shifter is like a serial killer and a creep, but he's honestly one of my favorite monsters. Like, he's just this weird drama kid who kills people, and I love it.
It's Cap.
Sam is genuinely offended. No one hates Halloween more than Sam. I'm so fucking annoyed by all of this. And Dean's like late to meet Jamie because a murder happened, and she's about to leave, and Dracula appears, and she's scared AF, and she runs. Like, he claims he must have her as his bride, so she maces him, and he does break character for a second, which I thought was nice.
Which I do love.
It was awesome. Like, if there's anything that can make you stop committing to the bit, it's probably pepper spray in the eyes.
Dean arrives and he punches Dracula in the face, and Dracula calls Dean Mr. Harker and Jamie Mina, which is a reference to Jonathan and Mina Harker. I forgot that there was going to be an explanation, so I wrote an explanation in my notes. But Dean rips off the guy's ear, and Dracula gets away on a Vespa, because why not?
The funniest fucking part.
He didn't have a horse.
My two fucking favorite parts about that scene is one when the Dracula like scales the fence, and then Dean tries to and fails so hard. Like, he really thought he was going to be able to do that. It's like, precious baby boy, think again. But then as the Vespa is making its escape, the little beep, like, so funny. It's so unnecessary. It's fucking hilarious.
I love unnecessary soundtrack bits like that. Very good.
I just love like the juxtaposition. Like, he can scale a fence, but he doesn't have a car.
Yeah.
What I was surprised about though in that bit, as much as and as brilliant as the scooter bit is, because that is so fucking funny, I was shocked that the Dracula cast Dean as Harker and not as Quincy.
I mean, he is more like Quincy. Is Quincy
Yes,
in the black and white movie? I don't even know.
I'm not sure. I don't think I've seen the black and white movie.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Dracula to have an opinion.
Quincy is the cowboy.
Yeah, he's like the only
Doesn't
American
help.
in the entire book,
Yeah.
and he's basically a cowboy. And honestly, he and Dean would get along.
Oh, okay.
He's a cowboy, but he's really sweet about it.
Yeah.
Also in love with Mina.
I thought he was in love with Lucy.
Might be in love with Lucy.
There were like 3 guys that were in love with Lucy. And I think Jonathan Mina got married during
Yeah,
the book.
I'm gonna Dracula up a bit. I have to gain some additional Dracula knowledge.
Yeah, same.
I knew half of those things and not the other half.
Though he does cast Sam as Van Helsing.
Yes,
Which
I
is an
enjoyed
interesting
that
choice.
quite a lot.
It's a compliment too. Van Helsing and Mina were like the only characters in that book who knew what was going on.
After the Vespa bit is when we have the intermission with the little curtain.
Iconic. No one's doing it like them.
Sam shows up at the bar, and Dean presents Sam with the ear, which they are like, oh, it's a shapeshifter. And also there's another like a label from the same prop house as the sarcophagus. And Jamie's like, are y'all from the X-Files? Like, what is happening? And Dean's like, no, that's a TV show. This is real. And I'm all for like a meta joke, but I think that one's stupid, and Supernatural makes it fairly often.
I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's stupid, but I'm like, it's stupid in a way that I'm like, that's kind of endearing. I'm like, it's like, I hate it. Good job.
I'll just pat you on the head for making that joke and hope you never do it again.
Oh, they're gonna do it again many a time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, then Sam educates everyone on the characters of Dracula.
Again,
like,
stupid.
Yeah, it is actually. I hadn't really thought about it because I'm like, well, of course Sam has read Dracula, but like I hadn't really thought about that implying that Dean hasn't seen Dracula.
Like, literally, the fact that Dean is like known fucking movie, like specifically monster movie nerd, like specifically,
especially considering Hollywood Babylon.
Yeah. Right. Because I was thinking like Mint Condition, right? But that's not for seasons. But yeah, Hollywood Babylon, great example.
And usually he knows movies that are a little later than this. Are there many instances where he like references movies from the 50s? I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah, I feel like there's been some. Dean is like a movie buff. If there's a movie he's probably seen. Like,
yeah, because all of the references in Hollywood Babylon are about like 80s and 90s slasher movies.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't the first 50s movie we've had. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but like there's been some deep cuts.
I don't have enough immediate pop culture knowledge to know off the top of my head what fucking era the movies are from. Like,
oh, actually, okay. Before like someone who watches listens to this episode later says this, this version of Dracula was made in the 30s.
Yeah, I've talked about the 1930s adaptation of Dracula once before.
Bela Lugosi.
Just the character of Dracula in and of itself is so pervasive through so many different adaptations.
Alias like was a Dracula reference.
Yeah. Bela Lugosi. He played Dracula.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this. It's kind of silly that Dean wouldn't know that. Like this is his genre. But it's fine. It's fine. Sam's here. Sam will educate us. He'll fill in that gap.
Actually, again, I'm probably a little off topic. If I'm not mistaken, I think all the movies that were referenced in this episode were made in between the 20s and the 40s.
Yeah, most of them. Like they're like kind of the classic 4 monster movies.
5 if we're including Phantom.
6 if we include King Kong.
King Kong, I didn't see that one.
I didn't see the reference. King Kong reference at the very end.
Right.
Anyway, Dean asks if anyone strange has come to town and taken an interest in Jamie, and she has to very gently break it to Dean that he's not that special. It's Oktoberfest and she's a hot blonde bartender.
Who wears a fun outfit.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you are not alone.
You're not unique for being a pervert.
She's like, you happen to be cute, but there's like a dozen more like you. I could have been with anybody. But then she's like, Ed moved here like a month ago, and like Lucy says he has a crush on me. So like he's suspicious because now he's been a witness and he's now a suspect. So Dean gives Jamie the monster talk, which I think was a little bit out of order, but okay. Like I feel like we covered things in it was a choice to do things in this manner, but Dean gives Jamie the monster talk, and she's like, "Your lives suck," which they do.
Yeah,
but he's different from me lately. I realize that I help people, and that's like good or a gift or a mission from God. He's really trying to talk himself into liking his job. I'm glad that he can find something to like about his job, but this whole like thing was really like you're trying to talk yourself into something. They start making out in the booth, and Lucy comes in, and Jamie like strong arms her into staying for a drink, which is a mistake. And then I was very excited for Meredith because there was Phantom of the Opera at the theater in Philly.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. I actually haven't seen the silent film yet, but I've been meaning to for a while.
Also, Ed is using the organ, which is keeping the whole like music thing going.
And I do love that sequence with like the shadows and it's so good.
It looks good.
It's very Phantom.
Unfortunately, Ed's just a guy.
Yeah, he's just some dude.
He's another theater kid, technically.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would like this more, except it just feels like a worse done from last season when Sam broke into that office with the gun, and like it was just a bunch of dudes, and he was like so awkward. Like this is just that, but like not as good.
Consider this one gets organ music that gives it points.
Yeah, I feel like those two, like I love the scene that you're referencing, but I feel like they fundamentally are trying to do two very different things, and therefore trying to compare them is like kind of like apples and oranges. Like they're both very good in their own distinct way.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is the last one Sin City?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dean realizes that Jamie is like slurring, and he's like, that's weird, like we haven't drank that much. But before he's like too sure what's happening, he starts getting dizzy, but he knocks Lucy on the ground, which I thought was pretty impressive for someone in the middle of passing out. being drugged, but it is too late, and he falls immediately onto the broken glass that he just created. Like, he smashes a bottle like he's gonna use it as a weapon, and then he immediately falls onto the smashed bottle, and I'm like, baby,
Not ideal.
That sucks.
I
Wait,
get what you were trying to do, but
have we mentioned that Lucy's name is a Dracula reference yet?
I don't think so yet. I think it's like really explicitly in like a later scene, but we can.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, there's a character named Lucy, and she turns into a vampire.
That's good. Also, I guess a reference to the vampire that we had last season that was named Lucy. I guess that was also a reference. I don't know if we talked about that in that episode.
I feel like I probably would have brought it up. Sounds like something I'd do.
It was a while ago. Then we get Dean in Lederhosen. He looks cute.
We know he loves to dress up, so he was probably, if it wasn't for the life or death situation, he probably would have loved it.
Also, not ideal that like this monster dude like dressed him up while he was unconscious.
Yeah, that's also kind of fucked.
I was happy that Jamie was given an outfit and told to change herself. She was not stripped naked while she was unconscious and put into different clothes. I was mildly relieved.
Well, she's playing a character. Dean's a prop.
Yeah, that's valid. He's also like harder to intimidate into getting dressed. Like Jamie ends up going along with it out of fear for her life, as you know she should be in fear for life.
Yeah, she is imprisoned by a serial killer who's clearly delusional.
Yeah, but Drac comes downstairs to monologue at Dean for a bit before he like kills Dean, and he's like, I live in the movies because they're elegant and they're not messy like real life. And I'm like, that's the most neurodivergent shit I've heard this entire episode. I don't like that it's from the villain. I think that's a little meh, but like that was like the predictability of like of a movie script was very, very relatable.
I think one of the reasons I like this episode is because like the villain is relatable, but then one of the things that takes a few points away is that he's relatable, but he also kills people and manipulates them and terrifies them. So
it's really funny to hear you describe it that way, because you could almost argue that of like literally Sam and Dean.
Oh
like,
yeah,
so many people love this show because they relate to Sam and Dean, who are literally serial killers who torture on the regular. Like, you know, so it's interesting to like think about it from that perspective. But also, I know I mentioned mid-condition very briefly earlier, and I won't like go into spoilers or anything, but it's interesting to think about how like the villain this week likes the predictability of like the monster movies and how like, you know,
and that's
how
the
it all
thing
sort
that
of
Dean
plays
likes
out
about them as well.
And what Dean likes about them as well, like we get really explicitly in that later episode. So I think that's like kind of interesting, especially talking about like neurodivergence, because like Dean and neurodivergence is like a whole other meta conversation.
Dean's about to get electrocuted, but the doorbell rings with a pizza delivery, and this guy does not get paid enough to care or play along with the weirdo in the vampire costume that answers the door. Also, he pays with a coupon.
And then probably ask him if there's garlic on the pizza.
I love this scene.
It's so good.
Like, that's
everything we needed it to be.
Give me the $15.50 you owe me for this pizza so I can go the fuck home. Like, I'm not playing along with your weird fetish.
The part that is like, that whole scene is a delight, but then it ending on him being like, I have a coupon is just so
it's genius.
I did enjoy the coupon, not gonna lie. I was into the coupon. Sam has not yet realized that his brother's in danger, but then he sees that Lucy's been there because he notices the lipstick print on the napkin, and he sees all the broken glass, and that's creepy still. I think it's creepy, but he's good at putting two and two together.
Well, we did establish a second ago that the Winchesters are indeed creepy.
But Jamie wakes up. She's got the new clothes. She just wants to go home, and he like screams at her when she doesn't like play along with the script. And Sam somehow knows where Lucy lives and just like lets himself in. And then after this, Drac like drops the phony accent, and he's just like talking to Jamie about how he was an outcast his whole life, and he like found kinship with great monster movies. That's great and all, minus the murdering and the
yeah,
and the kidnapping and
it's a mood, but then we get into the crimes,
assaults, and the you know,
it's very on brand or like on par for what we've had for Shifters like so far in the series. Like even going back to Skin, like
that's true.
This is the exact same monologue.
And like it's just kind of like bullshitting your way out of like the bad things that you've done because like people have been bad to you. Like it just creates a cycle.
Yeah. It's this weird way of like trying to shirk like any accountability. It's like, oh well, like people did bad things to me, therefore me doing bad things to people is like cancelled out. And it's like that's not how maths works. But
Jamie hears what she thinks is Dean somewhere in the house, and she screams for Dean, and the shifter just like knocks her the fuck out. Like, it's like, oh, you're really not playing into my game, and just like knocks her out. And that's not good. Sam finds Dean, gets him out, and this is the shot that's for me. It's a door, and then it's just the only other thing in the frame is Dean's bare arm from the elbow down. That's it. It's just like Dean's rolled up sleeve.
I wish I could say I'm surprised.
It was a little gifty gift.
They're just like, KJ doesn't like this episode very much. Let's add this specifically for them.
That's a shot of just Dean's arm. Sam's monster movie character is Van Helsing, which I think is incredible for Sam.
Also interesting considering the only other character we've had in this show who comes close to being like Van Helsing-esque is Gordon, who was pretty gung-ho on
killing Sam.
Tracking down and murdering Sam.
Honestly, from what I haven't read the book in years, but from what I remember, Van Helsing was kind of like a combination of Gordon and Bobby.
Yeah.
I want to be clear here. Van Helsing is typically less psychotic than Gordon, but like if you're looking at the like specializes in hunting vampires thing, then it's like
because like he was a middle-aged man with like all this knowledge, and he was definitely ahead of everyone else. Like that's very Bobby, but like specializing in vampires and being like, we got to take this guy down, no questions asked. It's very Gordon.
Jamie wakes up mid-fight and shoots the shifter in the chest with Dean's lost gun, and he makes a King Kong reference and tells Jamie like not to weep, while she makes the most I am not fucking crying, you weirdo. Her face was like, what are you fucking talking about? Like,
just let him have this moment. He'll never bother us again in a second.
As he dies, he admits like, oh, maybe this is how the movie should end, after all of his insistence that like this time it's his movie and like the monster's gonna win. And Dean's then kissing Jamie goodbye, and Sam's really happy for him, just standing in the background looking pleased. And when they stop kissing, Sam's like, I like her, and he admits the team was right. It did feel good to just like go save the day in some town, and they both kind of agree like life would be more simple if it was like a movie, and like you just knew that things were going to work out in the end. And then Dean is very confident that if Dean's life was a movie, he would want it to be Porky's too, which is a choice. I would argue
they make choices sometimes in this show.
The perfect choice. For anyone not familiar with Porky's 2, Porky's 2 The Next Day is a 1983 sex comedy where the KKK and religious fanatics take on the Angel Beach High School Drama Club's Shakespeare Festival. Reading the plot summary for this movie on Wikipedia was like an acid trip. It was delightful. Also, like the perfect choice for Dean Winchester. Like a movie where it's theater kids versus the KKK. Delightful.
You know, I feel like if our dead shifter wasn't such a movie snob, he might enjoy the plot of that movie. He's a theater kid too.
Yeah, like this is a sad thing. It's like the shifter is just like a sad theater kid who's like become a murderer, and like you can be a sad theater kid and become something better and entertaining for people.
You can become a podcaster.
Be a sad theater kid and become just like me.
It's also, as a movie, like I have read so much meta about this particular reference and like how it's a very queer reference as well. Yeah. And so like I feel like we can't not mention that.
Yep.
Especially considering how many queer people there are in theater.
It's a choice, and Sam was very insistent on it for Dean. Mm-hmm. He's like, it would be Porky's too, and don't try and say it's not. But yeah, that's like the end of the episode. They get in the car and they drive away off to do something else next week, I'm sure. MVP of the week. Beth, would you like to start us off?
MVP. That's tricky this episode, I feel like. I might give it to... Okay, this might be controversial. I might give it to the shifter, actually.
Shifter, okay.
Because my reasoning for this is, like, obviously he did a whole bunch of terrible, terrible stuff. Like, I'm putting that aside for this moment. But, like, his commitment to the bit. His commitment to the bit. His practical effects, all his costumes, the accents he perfected. Like, regardless of the actual, like, plot of the episode, like, looking at the characters and how much effort they each put into what they were doing this episode, like, the shifter, he really went hard.
Meredith, how about you?
I actually had the same one.
Oh, okay.
I just really love
so
this
much
guy.
Of a spicy hot take as I was worried it was going to be.
Yeah, no, for all the same reasons. Like, he was working so hard, and honestly, he should be recognized for it.
He was literally out here doing the most.
Oh yeah, like he was a theater kid, like through and through. He committed to the bit so much that he killed actual people.
Don't try this at home, kids.
My MVP of the week is probably actually a character that we never see on screen. It is, in fact, the prop house attendant who got him all of those costumes organized. That dude was so good at his job. Did you see all of the props, the sets? He truly went above and beyond. His customer service is next level.
Dry Ice is a big ask.
Honestly, you should have befriended that guy. I want to see that buddy comedy.
I was split on who I was gonna give it to. I'm like, should it be Sam? Should it be Dean? I think I'm just gonna give it to the shifter. I do respect the commitment to the bit.
We have swayed you.
Yeah, call that peer pressure if you want, but
The shifter does in fact kill the rapey dude.
yeah, that
That's
too.
true.
I mean, if you're gonna kill one of those two people, it was the rapey dude and not the girlfriend.
It kind of fits with his
Just
characterization.
because it's not like he killed that guy to like get the girlfriend like he did, like he was gonna do with Dean and Jamie, like kill Dean and kidnap Jamie. It was
He only killed that dude
Anne
for the
Marie go. Yeah, he like let Anne Marie go. She's drinking her mega big drink and living her life.
Remember, in the monster movies, it helps like if there's a witness to tell the scary story.
That is true. Yeah. Bechdel
Also,
test.
almost unanimously, the shifter gets the MVP award this
Wasn't
week.
expecting that.
We know it wasn't Sam and
It's been a
Dean.
wild
I was
thing.
expecting at least one person to say like Jamie, just simply because she's the one who
almost
actually
did.
shoots the shifter.
I almost did, but then I went with the shifter for some reason. Sorry to overlook your namesake.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we know it's not my namesake. Mum had in fact stopped watching by this point.
That's fine. When Meredith had a same name character on the show, they didn't make it past the cold open. They died in the cold open. So.
She freaking died. That was a fun thing to watch at 2 a.m.
She was the opening scene victim, so
Oh yeah, it was with the divas. So I just got to hear like creepy Mary.
yeah, victim of
so
Meg,
fun
I
for
guess,
you.
indirectly.
Oh yeah, I mentioned this in the episode we reviewed that, but like I was like by myself in the dark listening to a monster whisper my name.
Oh, that's horrible.
It was awesome though.
I have like the exact opposite horrible experience, which is that the only Beth or Bethany that we've had in Supernatural thus far was from I think something Wicked, and it's like the little girl from the start, except the dad calls her Cookie Puss, and it was horrible.
Oh,
I think it's Monkey Puss.
Monkey Puss,
I think it might be worse.
and I hated it.
That's your new nickname now.
No, it's not. Because Jamie would not let it go for so long. We are not reawakening this.
We could.
Please don't encourage her.
What if we just like did it as a little treat?
No.
There must be a Catherine somewhere in the Supernatural timeline.
There, I
but-
think there was in the Asylum episode.
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Does this mean I'm winning? I have the most prominent character like named after me.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like the Catherine in the Asylum episode was like the blonde girl whose boyfriend sucked.
Oh yeah, that was definitely Catherine.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend's name was like Gavin or Garrett or something.
Yeah, I reckon it was Gavin.
I'm sure there'll be another JB somewhere in 320 somewhere. I mean, not 320 some more, but like however many episodes we have left, like 200 and something. I'm sure there'll be at least one other Jamie.
Yeah, we've just hit season 5 in our show. Well, we're just hit season 6. We've just finished season 5. And there's no other Jamies. Not spoilers for the next 2 seasons for you guys, but there's no Jamies so far.
We'll keep you posted.
Too bad.
I was gonna say there's definitely no KJs, but like literally I met a KJ last weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were queer and they sold queer art.
Okay,
Oh,
to
I
be
love
fair,
that.
that's because your initials are awesome. Like every time you have J as one of your initials, you can have like the best nicknames out of them.
It's true. It does lend itself. Anyway, Bechdel test. Did we have 2 named women in this episode? Kind of. We had Jamie and we had
Yes.
Lucy, who I guess counts.
Really depends on whether you count Lucy as a female or not, because
We
they
don't
are
really-
a shifter, so I think they're inherently like non-binary.
I agree.
Yeah, we don't really delve into how the shifter
We don't
set
even
their
have a
own
name.
gender identity.
We don't even have an actual name for the shifter. Like they do not share that information with us. They share a horrible story about their their childhood, but not their own name.
I guess fits though, because like the shifter's entire goal is to adopt different identities to just get further and further away from the horrors and become something else.
Yeah, they definitely talked to one another. Oh, does anyone remember if they had a conversation with something other than a man?
I was just going to say, I think even if we classify Lucy as a female character, I don't think that they talked about anything other than...
They talk about Dean, and then when she shows up for the drink, she implies that she has a partner at her apartment waiting for her.
Yeah, or she says like something going on back at mine, or to that effect.
Yeah.
Which
implies
weird, if it's a singular person waiting for her at home and she just left them there for however the fuck long they're at the bar.
I mean, once we know who Lucy really is, then like the person at home is Jamie.
Yeah.
But I don't think it passes. I just think it's I think this
comes close, but it doesn't
quite get there. What a bummer. We haven't had one pass yet since season 3.
It's very sad.
It's fine. I'm sure one will pass eventually.
It's fine. It's fine.
One day a miracle will happen.
Yeah, this week's case of the week was like classic monster movie monsters. I don't know if anyone had anything they wanted to say about them.
I think we said a lot.
I feel like we did. I feel like we kind of delved into the origins of a lot of these characters while they came up.
Yeah.
Apparently I need to fucking learn some more shit about Dracula. I'll watch a movie, read a book or something.
I've been meaning to reread it for a while. It's such a good book.
Low light and highlight. Let's start with Jamie.
Oh, now you're putting me on the bloody spot. I think highlight of the episode for me has to be the fact there's a character named Jamie. I always love seeing my name pop up in media. It's even better when they're like, as much as we don't love like the bar bench stuff, like clearly she is like confident and capable and like she knows what the fuck she's doing. Like, yeah, she's out here with it.
And she slays the monster.
Exactly. And she does end up getting to kill the monster, which is fun. Ooh, low light probably has to be, just the like some of the rapey vibes. There are a couple of scenes where just like a little bit of rapey vibes and I just don't necessarily love that.
Yeah, big complaints. Beth, how about you?
I think I agree with the low light. I think it's just like the weird like sexual assault of it all, like especially that scene that like where the couple's in the car and the guy's crapping on about, if like the guy doesn't clear out his system, it can cause like a medical. I'm like, fuck off.
Get
like
literally fuck jerk off. I don't give a fuck.
I genuinely like, okay. Sounds like a you problem, honestly. But so that's probably the low light. But I think the highlight just has to be for me that fucking scene with the pizza delivery guy. Like there are just so many good little comedy bits this episode, and I think collectively those are my favorite bits. Like the fucking moped beep, the pizza delivery guy, really the coupon. Like, and actually, one we didn't mention was there's a part where I can't remember exactly what's happening, but like you find out that they're literally in a set. Like I think there's like a door or something.
Yeah, you go from like the castle looking shit, and he goes through one door, and then it's suddenly like a normal house.
Yeah, like it's just this this incredible commitment to the genre and stuff that they're doing, whilst also acknowledging that like they're not actually in an old medieval castle. Like it's very fun, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Same low light. It's not fun to watch. My highlight is just the villain, just everything he does, even the murder sometimes. I don't agree with him, but I want to watch him all the time.
It's so funny that my low light is not any of them. My low light is that little bit where Jared just straight up forgot how to act. I was watching it, it was like really early on in the episode. I was like, why the fuck am I watching? I was not sold on the episode, and I was like, this sucks. It honestly, this episode was significantly better than I remembered, but like I just struggled a little bit, and that was really, really tough to get over right off the bat. My highlight is Dean's beer foam mustache and wondering if Dracula can actually turn into a bat. I just thought he was so cute. It was this little moment where I was like, I like this one a lot too. This one can also be baby.
Oh, can I add an additional low light? Only because I just realized none of us have mentioned it yet.
Please do.
Okay, it's about Dean, and we all know I love him. He's my blowbo. He's my special little guy, but he's so useless at talking to women specifically. And when he's like first kind of like properly interacting with Jamie at the bar, and he's like, "I'm a maverick, ma'am," and he does that whole bit. Fucking hated it. I was literally like watching it, and I was like having breakfast, and I said out loud to myself, "I hate him." Like I love him, but I hate him. And that moment was so like like awkward and horrible, I was like, no.
Okay, you know it's even worse. It works.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about their characters,
She goes
honestly,
for
is like how insistent Dean is on interacting with women, like despite how bad he seems to be at it. And like Sam is also not good at interacting with women, but like he generally avoids it. But like when Sam really does actually commit to the bit of talking to a woman, he does a significantly better job than Dean a lot of the time.
I think it's because Dean like is playing a bit, like, and Sam is just being genuine.
Yeah, because Sam doesn't do it unless he means
I love
it.
the fact that, like, you know, Dean's trying to put up this front of like this really like cool guy, and he's just a nerdy little fucking dude.
But it gives me,
so everyone just sees through him like that, you know.
And I do love that, but this particular scene, like the whole like the only like, you know, it's like I break the rules or whatever. It gives me like secondhand embarrassment, and I can't handle it.
I, as someone who is often a victim of secondhand embarrassment, I don't like watching people do embarrassing things. I don't like like shows where people embarrass themselves. Yeah, not ideal. But I do think his little beer foam mustache was so cute. Call CPS. Thompson Adult should be calling CPS. I don't know how to feel about the parents of monsters, especially like shifters who like, it sounds like he was just kind of like born this way. But like maybe don't try to kill your kid with a shovel, and then whatever weirdness they have going on won't turn into a serial killer thing.
Yes,
But
his origin
most
story
parents don't have to deal with the fact they're just randomly sometimes their children shed skin and completely change gender and appearance.
Super scary and definitely abnormal thing to have happen. But like maybe don't try and kill your kid with a shovel anyways.
Maybe don't try and kill your kid with a shovel and other things said by KJ.
But also, like, if you are gonna try and kill your kid with a shovel, don't just like let them go out into the world afterwards and become a serial killer. Like, do a better job.
Finish the job. Is that your advice? Like, maybe don't kill your kid with a shovel, but if you're going to try, you may as well commit.
It's like, if you're gonna try, you better succeed.
I feel one thing across this episode is if you're gonna commit to the bit, commit to the bit.
If you don't like your kid, make sure you kill them successfully.
I feel like maybe we need to call a CPS on you and your fictional children.
If you ever get a pet, let me know, because we're gonna have to have a chat.
I said don't try to kill your kid with a shovel. I'd like to be very clear, don't do this. But also, like, I'm thinking about this guy's a serial killer, and if he had been killed with the shovel in the first place, he wouldn't have been a serial killer.
Okay, but KJ, if they hadn't tried to kill him in the first place, like...
And maybe
but it's not just the attempted murder that turned him into a villain. He was also called a freak. And we know what that does to people.
Not a dreaded F word.
I mean, Sam is a serial killer too.
That's the thing he's sensitive about.
Honestly, the fact that Sam wasn't there for that monologue is fucking shocking. The fact that they didn't make him listen to that.
Honestly, I feel like if he had, it would have been inconvenient, because he'd be like, wait, Dean, let's hear him out.
Actually, I feel like it's interesting that they had Dean hear it though, and not Sam.
I don't think Dean heard that part. I think that was just Jamie and...
Oh, yeah, I'm confused with scenes. Never mind.
That was too much monologue scenes, because this guy is a performer.
But I mean, like, you know, what parent would, you know, attempt to murder their children and call them a freak? What parent? That's just such bad parenting.
I don't think I've ever seen that on this show before.
No.
Interesting. Awkward silence.
And what if we put Dean in a position where he needs to kill both of them? What if?
Firing squad, people did not perform their job duties correctly. I think everybody was okay job-wise. This police officer was very helpful, but like he definitely thought that they were the FBI, so
they were convincing,
I guess.
Yeah, to be fair, we can't really hold that against him, because like we would then have to, we're holding him to the same caliber as any other federal or like general officer in this series, and so like really he's not doing any worse.
I think as far as police officers on the show, they called him in advance and were like, hey, we're the FBI and we're going to show up. And then they showed up and were like, hey, we're the FBI, and they had ID. Like, I feel like that's about as good as you could ask for in the world of Supernatural. It's better than most of the cops on the show have done in the past.
It's even like looking at the pilot, like it's a million times more professional than that.
Even looking at Wendigo when they were like, we're park rangers, we showed up in the middle of the night.
We don't even have supplies.
Yeah. It's not like, they called up the morgue and they just handed out all this information over the phone. Like, they went into the morgue with the sheriff from the town and looked at the bodies with him. Like, I think honestly he did a good job. Anti-firing squad for that guy. And
Let
now
him
we
keep
just have
his
to worry about further murders. The murder problem has been taken care of. Mental health check. I'm not a psychologist. This segment is based purely on my own opinions. Weekly reminder, if you're struggling with anything at all, please reach out for help. This honestly I think was fine. I don't think anybody had any like abnormal like mental healthy stuff going on.
Though I do think Jamie will need therapy after all of this.
Yeah.
I do think, just like you mentioned it earlier, but I think it's like probably pertinent to pop it in here, like Dean's little monologue about like, oh, I feel like my life has purpose now, and like I was beginning to think that like I hated everything and I didn't want this to be my life, but now I feel like I've been given a second chance. Like I feel like that probably falls under the category of like mental health.
It was like, the world's ending, what the fuck are we doing going on a case? Dean was like, we can't fix that right now, we can fix this, and that feels very healthy. So he's doing, I would say, better than normal, actually.
Surprisingly well.
Excited about this whole case, and they left both in pretty good moods. There was smiling, there was like jokes about Dean's movie, like ideal world, like that weren't sad, and like everybody was having a good time by the end of this one. Very rarely we leave an episode with like an increase in mental health for Sam or Dean, but I think they actually did both of them very good.
Like, they just got to have like a little bit of fun on a simple black and white case.
Yeah, there was no soul transactions. I don't think Sam got knocked out in this episode. I honestly lost a little bit of track of him during the final fight that was happening. I wasn't sure if he got knocked out or though.
I don't think so.
I don't
Dean
think
got
he
knocked out.
Dean got knocked out.
But Dean got drugged. It's really weird. When Dean gets knocked out, he gets drugged. When Sam gets knocked out, he gets physically assaulted.
Yeah. Sam's taken so many hits to that. It's gonna be, that's the number I think I'm the most scared about when we get to the end, is how many times has Sam been fully knocked out. It's a lot.
That one has more consequences.
And like, so specific seasons are worse than others. There's a season towards the end where like it's pretty bad, and like there's an episode where it's twice in one episode he gets fully knocked out, and I'm like, babes.
It's so funny. Like, I feel like TV shows do this thing where they act as though if you're unconscious, like it's no biggie. They're like, oh, they're fine, they're just unconscious. It's like
that's
yeah, but
not
why?
a medical emergency.
What caused them to
sudden...
become unconscious?
They do that in all forms of fiction everywhere. They just never really consider like concussions are a thing.
Or like the potential brain damage.
Or like, oh, one is passing out from blood loss. That one's fun. That's kind of serious.
This was...
Or like being choked. It's like, oh, the lack of oxygen to your brain. No consequences there.
You could have brain damage. That's a thing that exists.
One-on-one time with Cass. He wasn't here. And neither was Bobby. This is 2 episodes in a row with no Cass and no Bobby. I'm gonna
ripped off. We demand a refund.
And obviously, so then there's no information on Cass's powers. They remain as they were. Eyes off the hostages. I think a double eyes off the hostages situation, because first we had Dean being left unattended while Drac attended to the pizza delivery and making Jamie get into that dress that she didn't want to get into.
Also, that dress is hideous. It's the most like 2008 prom dress I've ever seen.
It's not great.
I need to find a picture. I forget what it looks like.
It does look like something that somebody would wear in an old movie, for sure, but it looks awful. Jamie looks fine though, because she's hot, but like...
Well, hot people can do anything.
She can just wear whatever.
It is really weird to be having this conversation when my name is Jamie.
Don't worry, I'm sure you're hot too.
And then they took their eyes off Jamie during the fight, and she shot Drac in the back.
In the back?
Yep, from behind. He was so focused on killing Dean, didn't even notice that she was doing anything, let alone picking up a gun and using it.
I think that's also just like a really fun sort of way of like, of course he's not going to think she's going to shoot him.
Yeah,
she's the damsel in distress in this movie.
Yeah.
She's off script.
She's the bride, and she's going to get on script any minute now, even though she hasn't yet.
Honestly, that just makes her shooting him even better. life isn't a script, and sometimes the damsel in distress will kill you.
Yeah, it does give her a good amount of autonomy back that she's kind of had taken from her in her kidnapping.
Well, and just the role that he gave her.
Yeah. Does anyone have any episode title suggestions for this episode?
The one with the evil theater kid?
I kind of like that one.
No.
The one where we don't reenact Porky's tooth.
Oh, that's also pretty good.
The one with the megabit drink.
Oh, that's
The one-
also good.
The one where everyone committed to the bit?
I
Come
like
on,
when
Beth,
it's
let's have
often.
suggestions. You're notably
I was
biased.
gonna say the one with KJ's parenting advice.
I'm gonna make that one the one with KJ's bad parenting advice.
Yeah.
Just to make it really clear that we don't condone it. I do not condone murder. I feel like it's really important to say with my big adult government job. I do not condone murder.
Like, I don't condone murder, but if you try to kill your kid, you better succeed because they'll kill you.
The John Winchester-fication and KJ one.
Oh God, the one with the John coding of KJ.
Oh no.
I'm gonna put it on the list, but it's definitely not gonna be that.
It's like, I can't have my name in the same sentence as his. Like,
That would be valid, but it is very funny.
it is
I
actually.
can't have that out there just like on the internet for like people who haven't maybe listened to the show. Like imagine someone's like finding our show for the first time, they're scrolling through the episodes.
And they're like, what is the Johnification of KJ?
That honestly sounds like it's a title for like a really weird like drama about a man.
Okay, I feel like there was a lot. I didn't have any episode title suggestions except for like the one that's black and white, and like that's boring as fuck. So I'm glad that
Considering
y'all
you come up with this bit, you're
funny.
not very good at it, are you?
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I am. I mean, when I came up with the bit, I had very specific episodes in mind. But yeah, today, I just wasn't in the headspace when I watched it to be funny. Although I've gotten there apparently because I loved all of those. Finishing off this week's episode, we have line of the week. Meredith, do you have a line of the week?
Just every dramatic weird thing that the villain says,
That's
and
fair.
also that he has a coupon.
Jamie, how about you?
Oh, that's a hard one. This one is just full of lines, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got some really good lines. I will give it that. In and amongst some really clunky dialogue, which I mean, to be fair, some of the other dialogue that I found a little bit clunky is just clunky because it's like references. Like some of the monster bits, I was like, can we hurry this along? Can we not talk like that? But like, I get that that's the bit, and I do appreciate the commitment.
I think I'm going to have to go to Rehymenated just for the trans theme possibilities it presents.
So valid, and I'm a big fan of any trans Winchester headcanons that exist, so I appreciate that. Beth?
The coupon bit. It's the best part of the fucking episode. If the beep can count as a line, then also that.
Oh, it does. It does now.
If the Vespa had dialogue.
Honestly, I think that as much as I like the like can Dracula turn into a bat, that would be cool thing. I do think that one of those two would also be mine. The Vespa beep or the coupon. So yeah, I think I agree. That's it for this week. Meredith, where can people find you?
You can find me at Shades of Dayanira on Tumblr, Instagram, and sometimes TikTok. And if you go there, you'll see lots of really cool drawings for the fantasy series I'm writing. It's probably at least one weird theater kid in there.
Jamie, please tell us where we can find you and Beth on the internet.
Okay, so if you want to listen to our own podcast where I'm watching Supernatural for the first time, you can find us at Driver Picks the Podcast or Driver Picks Pod on Twitter. I'm sure KJ will put links in the description for us because they are
Yes, of course.
So we're sort of all over the internet. We're lurking.
Yes.
You could almost call us Winchester coded.
Lurking.
Whack for you of the two of us to have said that.
I'm good at a good plug, okay?
Excellent plug. Thank you. Next week, we will be back with season 4, episode 6, Yellow Fever. Always good time. Excited about that one. Been looking forward to it.
I've been KJ, and this has been Supernatural Opinions. If you enjoyed our show, the best thing you can do is subscribe on your podcast app of choice and tell a friend. Check out our link tree in the episode description for all of our social media and any other Supernatural-related projects we might be working on. Send us an email. Our address is supernaturalopinionspodcast@gmail.com, or reach out directly at KJ, at @KJ on all platforms. Thank you to Joe Veretta for our theme song, and our logo was created by Faith Ebert of faithanddesigns.ca. The episode was recorded, edited, and produced by me, Ed, and KJ. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out my other podcast, Series of Opinions. And last but not least, a huge thank you to all of our guests.